All right, so let's continue with Cursor. And I want to show you a couple of things. I've done it already, but uh, just to explain and keep the video short so you don't sit and wait with me while code execute. The first thing I want to talk about is agent. I'm just going to create a new agent so it's nice and big here on the top. The first thing is that there's 4 different modes when you work with Cursor. And the first mode, of course, is the agent mode, the one that we're working with now. It will execute things. You give it instructions and it will execute things. The next one is plan. So planning is big. Planning is extremely important, especially in tier 2 when we're going to start to create applications. Then planning becomes crucial. In fact, certain areas can even have smaller plans and so forth. Then debug is used, and we will use this often as well, to debug your code. So Cursor can check out its own code using debug. So it will systematically diagnose and fix bugs using runtime traces. And you'll learn all about it soon. So you can even start up your program and it will run its diagnostics and debugging, uh, as the program is opened and so on. Then the next one is ask. So normally, even if you're in agent mode and you ask a question, it will answer the question, but then also execute the task, assuming that you really want an answer, and then take that answer and have something executed. So ask is more like using Kimi and ChatGTP to get answers to questions. Uh, for example, let's say, uh, no, can I have, while we in the setup, right? Because we're still in the setup. Well, what you can see, for instance, here is in the beginning we had the project and I renamed it to say project setup. So what I want to do is continue here, and I want to ask it to create a whole file system for me for images. Then I'll do it here. Uh, I already asked, I first started off here to ask him, the AI, what is the best directory structure to put images in so that I can upload images into a folder? And then it came back with all kinds of ideas. And then I went into agent mode after ask mode. And I said, you know what? I like what you suggested. So please do it. Right. But, and then it created this whole file system for me. Now I just want to go back to my cursor rules. I also ask it to create a rule for me. And let's do this open preview. And here's a rule that says from now on, if I talk about images, you'll find icons, favicons here, and so forth. But let's do another one and say something like this. Um, can I have more than one rule file to keep things, organized? I'll have to be in ask mode. So lately, you'll see that Cursor and so forth, all the other platforms are continuously updating, making their stuff better. At this point, it's a race between all these guys, Cursor and all the other platforms, to stay ahead of the race. So it came back, yes, you can have multiple files. So I'm going to tell it, um, and now I'm going to go to agent mode, and here you can dictate and tell it. This is a new feature, by the way. All right, so from this answer, can we create a nice cursor rule structure to organize our rules uh, for easy changing rules depending on what the rule is about? All right, so I talked away. So these days you don't even have to type anymore, right? So you don't have to write code. You don't even have to type if you don't have to. Things are just getting better and better. Now, yeah, I see what it's doing is it's want to auto search the web. So I'll say continue. Now, cursor uh, can go out onto the internet, search for things that it don't know or that's not its database of things that it knows, and then come back with an answer and then continue executing the job. Created a little to do list for itself. How nice is that? So it will start doing to dos. Now, in plan mode, it will also create a to do, and it will have 10, 20, 30 to do, and it will start go through those to dos one by one. You can even in plan mode say, just do 2 or 3 to dos, and then let me uh, check it out before we continue, maybe do some tests, so forth. All right, so it created a new rule file for me, and there is now a dot cursor rules and 3 different rule sets in there. Now let's move on from the different modes. Let me see the timing. Yes, enough time. And look at our, it looks quite nice, different models that we can use. Now, if you choose auto, cursor will find the best model at the best price for that specific task you asked. But you can also go and choose a model yourself. Composer is Cursor's own model, and it will work probably out the most or the cheapest model. We have Opus that is quite expensive, like 10 times more expensive, Sonnet and so forth. But you can add more models. And here's all the different models that you can use. Now, just to explain a model, Cursor itself is just software, uh, but it relies on AI models to execute things for you. So you can create files, you can upload files, you can view things. I can even here on the right hand side go and say, create a new file, a new folder. None of that is costing money because it is not connected to AI, except if you tell AI, yeah, to create a folder or a directory and so forth, like I did. So very often you'll find that you can manually just add a new directory or something like that, keeping in mind that the cursor does it, the AI does it, is going to cost money. So of course, uh, the most often used way of working with cursor is to just choose auto. Uh, and you can see all the latest, right now, probably by the time you see this video, There'll be newer versions, but it will also explain to you, what each of these models are good in. All right, so I'm just going to close it there. So there's Composer 1.5, and there's Opus. I can maybe run something on Opus. I hate using Opus simply because of the cost. It is superb, it's excellent, but let me tell you, Composer is not far off from it. So that's why I simply go Auto and let Cursor. Now and then Cursor will even use Opus if it finds the job to be very difficult. So for now, I'll say use Auto. Don't forget that if you use Opus for a command, to unselect it, because you're going to run for a quarter of the time than you normally would before you're out of credits. I've done it in the beginning, the very first time I used Cursor. I chose Opus, and half a day later, I was out of credits. And then I realized why. I went to look at my usage and I saw it's all Opus, costing 10 times, 20 times more than I needed to pay. So that's it for this video. Use Auto. Or when's the best way to use something like Opus will be when you start off with a new big section in your project. Let's say you want to build now a blog post backend, and then you can maybe use your first prompt, Opus, and then switch back to Auto because the majority of the hard work has been done. Also, when you see that your agent struggles to get something right, then maybe move over to Opus, and then it will probably fix it immediately and then move back to auto mode. So that's all I want to say about this. We're going to look at planning next, and this will also introduce more new functions that we use in Cursor, and you'll even have a better understanding of how we use Cursor. I'll see you then in the next lesson. Bye for now.